So first off, welcome back to the House.
Thank you.
This will be your second term representing House District 54A. You lost your bid back in 2018, but decided to run again in 2020. Why?
One of the biggest reasons I decided to run again is, looking back, the Pioneer Press deemed me as the most bipartisan in the state of Minnesota through my voting record. And what I was seeing is a big divide. And I'm not going to point the blame at anybody or the person that I beat or anything like that. I wanted to get back here to be able to bring people back together. We need to start to build those positive relationships at a time like we're having right now. Sorry about the mask here. We need to come together. There's no time for this anymore. The elections are over, locally, state, federal. We have this pandemic going on. People are hurting for all different kinds of reasons, and we need to be able to set this aside. And I felt the ability that I have to build those relationships and just be able to set those things aside was somebody that we needed, and somebody that's willing to work with anybody and everybody, and who also will be connected to the community. That was one thing I was hearing is the people that were up here were not connected to the community. And I'm somebody who's involved, locally through whether it's helping nonprofits or other organizations or our local governments, to know what's going on the ground. So it's just, I almost didn't, because at a time like we're having right now, I own a bar and a restaurant, two separate entities. And things have been really hard, but sometimes I need to set my priorities aside. And I've always been one that's willing to want to help and make a difference. It's something that I found that I'm passionate about. I always say that, the work that I do at home is what I do for a living. The work that I do for the community is something that I enjoy, that I found that I'm passionate about, and that's why I do it. So that was a big reason. And community members were like, Keith, we need somebody up there like you. Regardless of party or partisanship, we need somebody who's just willing to do the work. So I think after enough of those phone calls and discussions, I was like, okay, let's give it a shot and see where it goes.
And tell us about your community and your district. Where does 54A, or where does it cover? What are the people like? And tell us about your community.
So District 54A is part of South St. Paul, all of Newport, St. Paul Park, Great Cloud Island Township, and a good chunk of Cottage Grove. And, we're just all hardworking people. I mean, it's a great community. No matter which city you're in, the communities work together. The people in those, it doesn't matter which city, all come together to support certain causes. They're very involved. I can't say enough about our communities. I mean, the things that we do there and accomplish there to help one another is just sometimes amazes me, and it's what has helped me to stay connected to just sometimes you just look out into the community or you're at a function or whatever and you're like, this is why I love this community,
Things are much different than when you were first elected in 2016. So what do you think are the most important issues facing the state? I know we already talked a little bit about the pandemic, but as we enter 2021 here, what are the most important issues that need to be worked on?
Well, I think, if you can't set anything aside without talking about the impact of the pandemic. Our deficit is going to be so large, and we need to also then work to keep our core services. And how are we going to be able to do that without raising taxes abound? So I think a lot of tough discussions are going to have to be had, because when you set the pandemic, or if you take the pandemic out of it after the fact, we get through the backside, you're going to have so many underlying things. One of my passions has been addiction. There's so many people are going to come out, and we're going to find that have had so many issues that nobody knew because people aren't checking on them. and they're afraid to go out, so they're stuck in their homes. And the depression, the addiction, our health and human services, I think, is going to be overrun. And how are we going to be able to do that? That's something that I'm going to be very passionate about, is finding ways to connect people to the help that they need. And beyond that, our small businesses, how are we going to be able to get those guys over the hump? Because they're going to be dropping left and right. I mean, even today as we speak, the governor's going to instill some more restrictions, and whether you agree with them or not, it's just the way it is. And we need to come together to figure out how to not only keep people safe, but help the businesses survive so that people have jobs to go back to, so they can help provide for their families. So there's going to be a lot to work on. And I think if we can set that partisanship aside once again and just get through these next 2 years, get a good budget done, balance it, and move forward, we can worry about all that other stuff the next time around. Let's just focus on what we need to get done.
And finally, I took this away from your campaign page website. You said, my core belief structure comes from family and becoming a self-made person and a small business employer. What is your core belief structure?
My core belief structure, I believe, is just caring about, you have your family first, and then the people around you. You take care of the people, whether, that are in your community, and it all starts with family. And by being a leader, your family learns to lead, and then you learn to care about one another. And then you branch that out into the community, and it's kind of a snowball effect. People are like, hey, if he can do it, I can do it. I came from not very much. I've had my trials and tribulations in life, and I've been able to, through the grace of God, turn my life around and focus on becoming somebody who gives back, not only, when I can financially, but through helping out, through assistance. Sometimes just being there and people knowing that you've been through this and there is a other side gives hope. And I think a lot of that is based on the ability to give hope, not only, within your immediate surrounding, people in your life. Like I said, that branches out, and then, you just pray that it grows.